Welcome to the Smile Co podcast. My name is Kevin Hayashi. I am your host and co-founder of Smile Co. We are a platform to encourage and inspire creators to live their dreams and do what makes them smile. We lead by example by raising our frequency and manifesting our reality. My special guest today is Cash Scott. Cash, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Cash Scott is a highly regarded tattoo artist residing in the scenic community of Ocean Beach, California. With his wife and 2 sons by his side, Cash has established himself as a beloved and respected member of the local community. As the owner and dedicated artist at Chapter 1 Tattoo, widely recognized as San Diego's premier tattoo studio, Cash has been honing his craft for over 2 decades, known for his exceptional skill, creativity, and unwavering commitment to his clients. Cash Scott has become a trusted name synonymous with exceptional tattoo artistry in the vibrant city of San Diego. Cash, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure having you, and I loved the art you just were working on today. That was pretty amazing, man. So what we're doing with Smile, I mean, you're very familiar with B and Whitney and I, and you know what we're encouraging people to do is to live their dreams and, you know, no matter what it is, follow their passions and follow whatever it is that they want to do as long as they work hard and they're good people, you know? So you have a great story. You're a great artist. If you don't mind sharing, maybe like, how did you get into tattooing or art?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, first of all, man.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. It's a rad setup you have here. Studio is beautiful. Yeah, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah. You guys are doing good things. How I got started in tattooing was pretty amazing, actually, because I'd been drawing for my whole life since I was a kid, you know, and always had like a dream of being able to like do that as a occupation, right? You think about like, you know, what I love to do and what I would have to do, and just growing up, going to school, like it was always kind of like, you know, thinking of work as more of an obligation or something you got to do to make ends meet, and never really like being encouraged to pursue anything, I guess, that could be also fun. That was always just like a pipe dream. And I feel like they got stuffed down anytime I'd be like, you know, get caught drawing in class. My teachers would say like, is this what you're going to do for the rest of your life? You know?
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It's crazy. And I think it's such a tragedy in school, like your creativity can be just stifled that way. And even for myself specifically, because, you know, drawing and keeping my hands busy kind of allowed my mind to be freed up, I guess, to listen. So I can do both. And I still do. I'll listen and talk while I'm tattooing, you know, like I have conversations with my clients, or some of the sessions are really long. So I'll listen to like a podcast, you know, or a documentary while I'm tattooing. I think those things go well together. So to be told in school that like that something I can't do was just wild. And so I guess to fast forward like to my intro into tattooing, I had the so I guess I was younger than most of my friends in my grade, right? So senior year, I was 17. Everyone else was 18. And at that time, tattooing in tattoo shops, like you couldn't be under 18, like period. Like there'd be a sign on the door, nobody under 18 allowed. And so my friends were getting tattoos done, and I always thought a tattoo shop was so intriguing. You know, I was like, man, that just seems like, you know, it's badass. Like everything about it seemed cool, but also so mysterious because there's like, you know, it was a lot rougher at the time, bikers and gangsters and stuff like that. Cops, firefighters, like those were, and military, like those were the people getting tattooed. So it's just so mysterious. But anyway, I'm, you know, not able to go into these shops, but at the same time, my friends were getting tattooed, and they wanted to have like custom tattoos drawn, which was really tough back then. Talking about like, you know, 1999, around then, and most shops had like flash on the walls, which is just a bunch of designs like kind of ready to roll, right? So you go in and pick something off the wall, and a lot of the shops had the attitude of like, if it's not on the wall, we're not doing it, you know? And so my friends knew I could draw, and they had a couple of them asked me to draw these tattoos for them. A lot of them were going to the same shop, and the owner was doing their tattoos, and after a handful asked, like, you know, who's this guy drawing these things? And so they, you know, told him about me, and he's like, bring him in. So that was my introduction to just like being in a tattoo shop. Like I had the invitation to go, you know, wasn't 18 yet. So I just thought it was.
What city was that in?
Here in San Diego.
In San Diego?
Yep. So born and raised here. And yeah, so the first shop I walked into, I ended up hitting it off with the owner of the shop, and kind of made friends. And he gave me like some advice on some things, and then kind of felt me out a little bit. We made friends, and after a bit offered me an apprenticeship, you know, which was perfect because kind of finishing up high school and thinking about like, what am I going to do for a living, you know? And I never really considered tattooing as like an occupation. I didn't know anything about it. You know, I just knew they were cool. I was like, anytime I'd see a tattoo, I'm like, that thing's freaking badass, you know, like I want some of that. And
were you 18 at the time when you got the job or got
so
the
I
apprenticeship?
was offered the apprenticeship. October 2001 was actually when I started my apprenticeship. So I'm trying to think, was I 18 or not yet? I may not have been 18 yet, but when I started my apprenticeship officially, I was 18. Got a tattoo from him on my 18th birthday, like at midnight. Like I couldn't wait. Like I was like, I could do it. Let's go. So
Was that the first one?
it's not my first tattoo though.
Oh, okay.
I had been tattooed by a friend of mine before that. Just I don't recommend it at all. Probably one of the worst things that you can do, but you know, but I did it. I was, you know, young and dumb, and got a good story out of it. I lived through it, you know.
What was the first tattoo?
My first tattoo was my last name on the inside of my arm, just right in my bicep. I've covered it since because it was the worst tattoo. I mean, I have a simple last name, Scott, S-C-O-T-T, and it was like barely legible, crooked. Like it was terrible. The thing I like bled for like 2 days after. It was just so hacked up. But I thought it was cool as shit. So, after that, I didn't get any more tattoos. I was like, all right, like I'm gonna do any more tattoos. Like I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna go to someone that knows what they're doing. So I pumped the brakes on that until I got the opportunity to, you know, get into a shop. And but I mean, immediately then it was like being a kid in a candy shop. I was like, there's tattoo artists around, and I could kind of get these tattoos. And I started to do my apprenticeship, and it was pretty quick. Like now an apprenticeship's like 2 years, but back then it was like not quite as long. And I finished it in probably 9 months, and I'm tattooing people that are twice my age, way more tattoos than I have. And I'm like, man, I need to get some stuff on my arms quick, you know, just to like look the part. To get, you know, some of these guys would come in and be like, "You're my tattooer," like this little kid, you know. But yeah, so, but I just hit the ground running. I mean, like, it's all I'd ever wanted to do was draw anyway, you know? So to see this opportunity to like be able to do that, and the guys around, and there was, you know, and some girls tattooing, I was just like, man, this is like a dream. Like I couldn't imagine a scenario that would be, you know, more fun. And I just forgot about every other idea that I had for a job or anything like that. And I went straight into it. And
what would you draw when you started, or when you really, like, what kind of things were you like to draw?
For tattoos or for just fun?
Before, like when you...
For fun?
When you, like you start drawing and then you kind of get a skill set, and when you kind of got good at drawing, like what kind of things were you drawing?
Caricatures of my teachers mostly.
Yeah. That's actually awesome. That's cool.
I know, like I love drawing cartoons. Stuff like that was just fun. You know, I could like do a little cartoon or something, and it usually would be in class, honestly. I mean, I spent most of my time.
You're like Mrs. Johnson.
In school. Yeah, I got a piece of paper and a
big
pencil
head or something.
Make people laugh. Like we sit next to my friends. That's probably why I got in more trouble than anything, honestly, because people around me watching, seeing what I'm doing or whatever, and I'm drawing these things, making everybody laugh. But yeah, I thought that stuff was fun. But what I really like to do, and when I would spend time on art, it would be like I really like photorealism and pencil drawings that look more refined, black and gray stuff. My mom, she's done that. She's done pencil drawings and portrait art and stuff like that since as long as I can remember.
Oh, so it's been in the blood.
I think so, yeah. I was a kid, and the first drawing I remember my mom doing was a portrait of my brother and I. There was just these amazing portraits of the two of us done with pencil, and my mind was just blown. I don't think I'd ever seen anyone draw anything that looked real before, and so I think I always had that as like my ultimate goal in art, to be able to do that, right? So.
Yeah, I've seen some of your tattoos of it's like as real as it gets. It looks more real than real. It's pretty wild.
Thanks, man.
Definitely at his Instagram. We'll have the link in the below the video. But yeah, your art is incredible, man. It's I love to check it out and look at it, man. I mean, you said there's a two-year wait about it?
Yeah, it's
Is there somewhat of a demand?
I've just been so fortunate and so blessed that people have I guess just enjoyed the art that I do and enough to like tell their friends about it. And that's how I started everything, man. I just do my best on everyone and treat everything like the way that I would want to be treated if I was being tattooed, right? So I think that's just turned over every year that I've tattooed. I've been tattooing. I've gotten just a little bit busier and a little bit busier. And 22 years later, it's crazy.
Yeah.
2 years.
It's just a
about
subconscious, easy. You just picture it, and is it just? So do you think most of your clients, do they come up with the idea and then you bring it to life, or how does that work usually?
Good question. Yeah. There's both, I would say. I've had the more rare instances where people come in and they're just like, I don't know, man, I love your art and I've been following you for a while, and I think that anything you want to do would be rad, right? Like,
yeah.
And in that case, I'll ask them some questions and kind of get a feel for like what they like, almost like a chef would, right? Like You're like, okay, cool. Like, what kinds of things do you like? What don't you like? What's your ultimate goal with tattoos? Like, do you see yourself with, maybe, like a half sleeve and that's it? Or do you think a full sleeve, or maybe even more than that? Like, kind of get to know them a little bit. And then from there I can like sort of just custom tailor like something for them that, and that's like more of an art, like a collector mindset, right? There's other scenarios where people have a very specific kind of idea or something that they want to like, sort of capture, and in that case, maybe they'll have references that are specific and other tattoos that they've like found that they like. And, so I do both, but regardless of how it comes together, it's really a collaborative kind of thing. And I think that's one of the most fun parts of it, right? Where I can get to know a client and get to know what they want and what they like. And I think people appreciate that too when they feel like they're a part of the kind of creative process. So
a little more meaningful can be.
Yeah.
Do you mind? I remember last time we chatted like this, you talked about the first tattoo you did. And I thought that was a really good story. You mind sharing that?
The first tattoo I did on myself or somebody else?
You were, I think, in your apprenticeship, and then he's like, "Hey, it's your turn.
You're up." Oh, yeah, that was on myself. Yeah, that one. Yeah, so that was literally my first tattoo. Yeah, because in tattooing, like as an apprentice, you really a lot of times are expected to do your first tattoo on yourself, right? It's kind of like a rite of passage, I would say. So yeah, I don't know, thrown in the fire pretty quick for sure. Like I didn't know a whole lot about tattooing. I'd only seen, tattoos being done for maybe a month or something like that. And I'm kind of watching over their shoulders, but really my job at the shop was like to clean up, break down, do food runs, like, do anything like just kind of to like help all the tattooers, So as far as watching, I didn't really get a whole lot of that, yet. And then I was at the shop one day. I think it was maybe 8 or 9 at night. I'd been there since 10 in the morning, probably, gassed already. Like I'm just like run down, and I was like 6 days a week. And then the owner of the shop, he's like finishing up a tattoo that he's working on, and he calls me over. He's like, Cash, get over here. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, you're gonna tattoo yourself. I'm like, okay. When? He's like, right now. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, I was like, well, what am I gonna do? He's like, I don't know, figure it out. He's like, you got like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, all right. So I scramble. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how to tattoo. I'm like convinced that I'm gonna just fuck this thing up, you know? And I didn't know anything about tattooing really yet, but I knew that it looked really hard, you know? And I'd seen hacked up tattoos. So I'm like, all right, what can I do that is like gonna be
Decent if you screw it up.
decent if I screw it up, right? Like, so I'm like, all right, maybe something solid black, right? Just something small, like, you know, no shading, nothing complicated, just an outline and fill it in black. How hard can that be? And then I was like, maybe some letters. And I'm like, well, what if they fucking look terrible? So I'm like, all right, I look through this book and I find it perfect. I'm like, some Tibetan Sanskrit, which if you don't know, it's basically, it's a beautiful, you know, style of lettering, but it's not English. I mean, no one would know. Very rare that anyone could read it. So I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do. Find some meaning real quick. I'm like, I see this thing and it's translated and it says to seek enlightenment. And I'm like, that's my tattoo. Let's go.
And then
So-
you're like, where do I put it?
So I'm like, where do I put it? And the answer to that was pretty easy. It's just, all right, somewhere you can reach, right? Like if you're gonna do a tattoo on yourself, you gotta be able to see and reach and, you know, hold it with one hand to stretch and the other one. So top of my leg right here was perfect. And then I'm like, even better, because if it's real bad, I can just cover it with shorts. Like, you don't have to see it. And of course, clothing styles now, like shorts were lower then, now they're like up here. So this thing's, anytime I'm in trunks, it's wide open. Like you can see this thing. Anytime I go to the beach, my first tattoo is still there to haunt me. And, but it's good, man. I mean, it's a not a great tattoo. I'm glad it wasn't in English, but it just adds character to my story, and I'll never forget where I came from. So it's good that I can
And
see
then
it every day.
what about the first one you did on someone else?
Oh man, it's the first one I did on anyone else. Yeah, this guy was awesome. He was a friend of the owner's, this wild card like biker guy, long hair, tattoos all over him. Just guy was a nut, and probably the best for like a first client, because he was just funny, super easygoing. He had an intimidating presence. Like he, you know, looked like this badass biker, but the coolest guy. And Dan, this guy I remember, but he had a bunch of tattoos all over him, and he was like, I was like, he wanted this Japanese dragon, not very big, just kind of small. And I'm like, fuck, man, I'm kind of nervous. Like, you know, he's like, look at the rest of the shit I got. You know, it's not gonna be any worse than this. So he made me feel pretty good about it, and it was cool. I ended up tattooing that guy once a week for almost my whole apprenticeship, and I ended up doing a ton of stuff on him, and I'd kind of go back and rework some of the stuff. But it was a rad dude, you know, to have. He was my first client, and all along see him once in a while. He stopped in the shop, I think, a couple years ago, and I hadn't seen him in forever. It was cool. 22 years later, you know. So
That's crazy.
yeah, wow.
Yeah. What is you don't have to answer this, but what is the worst tattoo story that you got?
Oh man, you know, I felt like you were going to ask him. I should have come with something prepared. You know, I do my best to avoid any of those, and I think that,
Or it could be one that maybe you saw in the shop or heard or something, to not point anybody out.
yeah. Oh,
But you don't have to share any of them though, actually, if you don't want.
well, you know, I think. All right. Oh God. I do have one. I'm not going to say who, but this is a great friend of mine still. I've known this guy forever. So he was a tattooer that I used to work with, and we tattooed together from the very beginning. And he was doing this tattoo on this girl's lower back, and at that time, like, we had these barber chairs, and they lift way up, kind of, you know, so you can sit up in, like, you know, our tattoo chair, and anyway, so she's getting her lower back tattooed. Do you remember those like lower back things that were popular forever? One of those. And she's having a really hard time, like kind of just, she's hurts and they're a painful area, no doubt. So super nice guy. He's just very patient with her and like taking it slow. And at some point she almost like stops and she's like, I got to take a break. But as she does it, she sort of sits up and tries to get out of the chair. And when she does, she sort of wobbles. And then he kind of grabs her and catches her. And the only way he can is like sets her down on his lap. And like he's like, oh crap, like what do I do? And then she's passed out for maybe 10 seconds. And then helps her up, and she's just like, oh my God, like that was so weird or whatever. And then I'm looking over at him, I'm like, that was crazy. And he looks at me and he kind of looks down and he's like, my pants are wet. He's like, this girl just peed her pants on my lap. And she realizes at the same time he realizes it, and they both just look completely mortified. And the worst part is that this tattoo's not even finished, and it's not even at a place where she could leave and come back. So he's probably got another 10 minutes to do on this tattoo before she can. He finishes the 10 minutes. She pulls out a couple $100 or whatever it was, way more than enough, leaves it on his desk and just bails and never comes back.
Oh, man.
He leaves out the other door, and it's just like complete nightmare.
Oh, man. So
I think that one would have to take the cake. I can't imagine how experience could be any worse.
So there wasn't even a bathroom break or anything in between?
I don't remember. I think I couldn't handle like what was that? I don't remember, but I think I had to go outside after that.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked that question because that was a good one.
Oh my God.
So, oh man, how did you owning your own shop? How did that come about?
Yeah. I think my ambition was always to do that. Like, I didn't know, like I said, what I wanted to do growing up, but I always just felt like, whatever it was, I wanted to kind of be at the helm. I wanted to, be the one taking the risk. I wanted to be the one, kind of steering the ship, like whatever it was. That's how I always kind of saw my life being. And that was my hope, right? I think a lot of people have that, but so getting into tattooing, and I think that was my goal from the very beginning. And I stayed at the first shop I was at for a while, for probably 7 years, and then went to work in Ocean Beach for a guy named Bill Canales. Great dude, we're still good friends, and went to work for him. Worked with him for about 5 years, and during that time, got to know him really well, learned a lot, and at the same time, I was with my wife, Michelle. We've been together for, at that time, a lot of years, and knew that we wanted to get married, and I ended up proposing to my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, Michelle, and she said yes, and we, planned out our wedding. We put the down payment on the wedding venue, the honeymoon, even we bought our airline tickets. We just had it all planned out. And about a week later, Bill approaches me and says, hey man, we're gonna move the shop to another neighborhood. And I know you're getting married and starting your life in that way. And I thought I'd offer this location to you, if you wanted it, which was amazing. It was such a great thing. Like, it's kind of a dream come true.
Wow.
For sure. It was a turnkey deal. Like, to build a shop, takes a lot of time,
Yeah.
a lot of money. And this was even before, like word of mouth was just primarily that was it, right? So just to be in that location was just worth, so much. But he gave it to me for a great deal. But that being said, I had just paid for all these other things.
Yeah.
We got this wedding and the honeymoon and all these other things. And I'm just like, oh crap, like how am I going to afford all this, So I ended up, I said yes, no doubt. I'm going to make it happen, one way or another. So I sold my car. I rode my bike to work every day. I worked 7 days a week. I'd take a day off maybe once or twice a month. We did that for over a year and a half probably. Just saved every dime, and I managed to do it. We had the wedding that we dreamed of. We had this amazing honeymoon, and came back, and I think it was right when we came back from our honeymoon, maybe a week later, we got the keys to the shop, and that was it, man. It was crazy time for sure.
So I love that. I like when opportunities come. I can't remember who said it, but you just have to say yes, sometimes,
Yeah,
and figure it out later. I think that's a great story, and that's a great message. That goes hand in hand with what I want our listeners to know is, opportunities come up, and of course you got to be rational, but it usually always works out, especially if it's something that you're passionate about and want to make happen. It's like we've all gone through extremely tough times, and you go into a restaurant and every single person there has gone through a tough time, but they're all there, know. So I love that story, man. That's really, really, really cool. And is that the same shop that you're in now?
So funny thing with that is it was a perfect location for us at that time, and it was right there on Newport. Love the area, everything about it I love. The shop itself was a little bit small. It was kind of long hallway type of deal, but perfect at that time because it was, very few of us in there. Like it was myself and 3 other artists, and that's all we could fit. And so over time, we kind of just, grew and added some more artists. And then we were sort of getting to the point we were overflowing, and directly next door was a jewelry store. Amazing place, great family. And I'd even bought my wife's engagement ring there and my wedding ring. And so I walked by one day and I saw a sign on that window, and it just said like, everything 25% off, like closing or something like that. I'm like, no way. This place is a dream. I mean, it's literally next door. We share a wall, but it's everything ours is, but twice as big. It's got just, all these amenities. It has parking, which is like gold in Ocean Beach. And another thing where it was just like, I had a great relationship with this family that owned the jewelry store. And for them, I mean, they're taking a chance, like they, are going to sign this lease over to anybody, right? And it's a big risk, like they're retiring, and got to think like, is this the right move for them? Like, are they, going to regret it in any way? And even still with the stereotype of tattooers and stuff like that, I remember the days where you couldn't get a tattoo shop anywhere. Like, it would be in like the sketchy parts of town or next to a liquor store or something like that. And this is a nice area, it was a nice building. They'd been there forever. And so for them to agree to it at all was like pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that just came from like the rapport that we had and the relationship, and like they'd seen us doing what we, did for a long time. And I think that Gary Gilmore's the guy's name, great dude. And I think he was excited to pass the torch, so to speak, to us in that building. It had done so many good things for him, and he was able to take care of his family and, make a living doing something he loved. He's a jeweler and an artist as well. So I think that was pretty cool and for him as well. But it's been, I think 6-7 years in that building now. 7 years. Yeah. But right next door. So.
Yeah. It's beautiful in there. How much of the interior design work was you guys like? Yeah,
all of it. The Gilmores did a great job on the outside. Like they had remodeled the front, and aside from our signage, which I'm pretty proud of, but the rest. So on the inside, we remodeled it entirely. It was set up as a jewelry store with offices and a bunch of stuff inside, and So we had to like remove a lot of walls and flooring and the ceiling and everything else. And we spent, I think 4 months remodeling it. And it was another time where we just basically had to go all in on something, you know?
Yeah.
It was very similar to when we first opened, you know, like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we got to do it,
Yeah.
you know, and
Trust in your gut.
trust in our gut, you know, and take a leap. We're paying double rent. We're putting all this money into it, all this time. I'm like, man, I hope this works out, you know? But, yeah, my wife is really like the one that's, you know, visually, like she's got it down, man. She's able to, you know, kind of see like you know, a vision of like what she wants to create inside of a room or a house or whatever it is. And she's the one that kind of put all that together and made our shop as beautiful as it is, for sure.
Yeah, that's probably the most beautiful shop I've ever been in.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's the vibe. It's awesome. And then
Thank you.
how'd you find all of the? You have 14 chairs in there? Or?
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd you find, or did they find you, or how did that work out?
Both. Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. And, you know, for us, like I've always had, you know, just the mentality of like hiring slow, right? And I haven't had to really fire anybody, fortunately, but when it's not the right fit, you know, move on quick, but hire slow, right? So whenever we bring people on, I like to know who they are, and I really like to, you know, kind of invest in people, and I think the most important thing is just to like see who they are as a person, what kind of character they have. And I think the artistic stuff is huge for sure. And a lot of that grows over time. And if an artist is in the right environment, they tend to just thrive and blossom, right? And so I had that opportunity. And I've seen so many other people do that, and I've been able to do it too. We've apprenticed people, and then other people we've found that are already well-established, incredibly talented tattooers. We've had people from all over the world work at our shop, you know. And we've got a lot of different, you know, people that bring something new. Some of them do, you know, Japanese style, like traditional work, or traditional American tattooing. They do, you know, photorealism with color, fine line stuff, like just so many different types of tattooing happening in our shop. And I think, you know, finding these people, partly, and half of them finding us, you know, word travels just the same as it does with clients, it does with tattoo artists. And so we've been really lucky for that our name is like grown outside of just the local area, but like across the country.
Kind of legendary around.
Yeah, I mean, a lot around the world too. So I guess, yeah, thanks for saying that, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, did you ever think when you were starting off as an apprentice that you'd be where you're at now? I mean, a 2-year wait for your tattoos and...
No. I was just excited to be able to tattoo people at all, and then like blown away that they would pay me for it. Like it was just such a dream. Like, you know, doing art, making any money out of it is more than I could have ever asked for. To be booked now for any amount of time is like beyond any expectation that I ever would have had.
And then how close do you become with those? I mean, I'm sure, right? You've done so much work for people, and you just have clients that become super close friends, and you probably meet their families, and that's a really cool thing.
It really is. Yeah, and it's a unique type of art because of that, like you said, that social interaction, and like being able to like, you know, get to know people the way that I am able to. I mean, it's the two of us, you know, for a full day. Most of the things I do now are just one client for an entire day, and a lot of them are recurring. Like a sleeve takes, you know, 4 or 5 sessions. You know, some of these other ones take a lot. So I get to know people really well, and some of the things I know are meaningful to them, but you know, some of the things take on more meaning even after I do them, and becomes part of their identity. And I think I'm still kind of, you know, discovering, I guess, like on a deeper level, what like the impact is that I have to be a part of, right? Like the design's collaborative. I'm doing the art, but like for someone to, I don't know, it's
have a creative idea or something meaningful. And
yeah, it's a pretty profound thing for sure. And it's amazing that we get to have anything to do with it. So yeah.
I think that somewhat answers. I have two more questions for you. One is, what about your passion makes you smile?
Man, I mean, every part of it. Like, I think I wake up in the morning, a lot of nights it's, I go to bed drawing, I'm designing something for the next day. So I wake up in the morning, a lot of times excited for the day because I, know what I've got, and I'm going to go and, to a place that I love in a neighborhood that I love. Ocean Beach is my home. I'm so fortunate to be there, and I drive to work. It makes me smile.
Yeah.
My shop and all the people inside of it. The people that I get to work around, all the personalities in there. There's a bunch of characters that we're a big group of friends, and a lot of them I consider family as well. That makes me smile, and then I guess just putting artwork on people's bodies and seeing them in the mirror after I'm done looking at it. I mean, they're smiling at their tattoo, and that makes me smile. So
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And then, what advice would you give anyone out there trying to pursue their dreams or trying to make something happen?
Man, I would say I think that if you can find something that makes you happy, something that makes you smile, putting that first, and everything else will work itself out. If you find something that you love, and you put everything you have into it, the rest will work itself out. I have a friend that told me that a long time ago when I was first tattooing, and he was in some type of business with, just relationships that he had, and he's like, I just really love the relationships that I, have come through with the business that I do, and each interaction I have with, each client and each person that I work with. And he's like, that's what I really love about what I do. And I thought that was amazing. Well, it's the same thing for me. The art is awesome, but really the people that I get to meet. So for that reason, I'm doing what I love. I put everything I have into it, and everything else has worked itself out. So.
It's beautiful. And I study meditation. I just got into a few years ago, and that's a really cool thing of, like, most people during the day, we get up what's called beta brain waves. We're using 4 to 6% of our brain. And then when you can calm and not be in fight or flight mode, we get into alpha. And that's where you're at when you're creating, and it's a form of meditation. I don't know if you're familiar with that or anything, but it's a beautiful thing that you're literally meditating while you're present, by utilizing the gift of being present and then creating art and then sharing that art. So it's a beautiful thing, man. So thank you very much, Cash, for being on. It's a pleasure. Please go visit Chapter 1 in Ocean Beach. Beautiful, beautiful place with incredible artists. Their art is on the wall all over the place. I could just nerd out and just look at the art on the wall for hours, man. And go see Cash. Might take you 2 years, but it's worth it. Thank you guys for listening. I'll send some links to his Cash Scott on Instagram and Chapter 1 Tattoo. Definitely check them out, add them. And we'll have links to our stuff. Subscribe, like, and comment. Tell us what you think. And don't forget to smile. Thank you.